Hello everybody, this is Dr. Kevin Connors and another presentation on understanding your DNA. This one is on the CBS Transsulfuration pathway, sometimes called the CBS pathway because CBS is the first gene in this pathway, but it's technically called the Transsulfuration pathway. And again, if you're new to 23andMe or you don't even know what genetics are about, you start with a genetic 23andMe test, and hopefully we're going to enlighten you on all this is about. If you just come across this video, please go to Connor's Clinic and hit the genetics tab, and that will help you understand. This is more of a deeper video here. The transsulfuration pathway is how you get rid of more trash in your body. At least that's a piece of it. So it is part of detoxification in a sense, more so cellular, getting rid of reactive nitrogen species and reactive oxygen species. Free radicals really is what we're talking about getting rid of. This pathway planner is thank you to seekinghealth.org because they made this chart for us, and it's a beautiful picture, and I like to use pictures as much as possible. So this is the CBS pathway here, and it looks really super complicated, but the first gene in there you can see in the center top it says homocysteine, and homocysteine comes out of the methionine pathway and goes into that first gene family, that CBS family of genes, in order to go through this pathway. And the purpose of this pathway is to help feed the glutathione pathway, which glutathione is your main cellular antioxidant. It feeds SOD, which is another main antioxidant, which gets rid of superoxide and helps prevent peroxynitrate formation. This pathway also gets rid of sulfates and sulfites. It feeds the citric acid cycle. Super, super important. Okay, so people that have sulfite allergies, and typically they'll say, oh, I can't drink wine, it's got too many sulfites, I think I have a sulfite allergy. Typically, it's not a sulfite allergy. It is defects in this CBS pathway. That's my belief. Not that you can't have a sulfite allergy, but 99% of the time it's defects in this pathway. And you help support this pathway and their sulfite allergy goes away. Well, it doesn't really go away, but it's pathway supported, so you don't have as many issues of that anymore. This is the CBS gene family. This is a clip from the report that you'll see. Probably the most important of these genes in this first section here is the CBS 699 gene. Defects in that are going to cause issues in this pathway. So this is one that I like to support, and one of the first ones I like to support if a person has gene defects in here. Also, this ammonia and glutamate production issues in this pathway. So if you have defects in this pathway, you're going to have excess ammonia production, excess glutamate production. So symptoms of that are, literally excess ammonia production can be fibromyalgia in itself, right there. Chronic aches and pains, chronic pain, chronic issues, chronic fatigue is excess ammonia production. And also, I didn't tie it into this, but the urea cycle, which is much farther down in your genetic SNP report, ties exactly into this too. So if you have a lot of defects in the urea cycle genes, which there are a lot of urea cycle genes, then you don't get rid of ammonia very well at all. You're producing it too much if you got defects in this pathway, and then if you have urea cycle defects, you don't get rid of it very well. So you got the double whammy. Same thing with glutamate. We'll talk a lot more about glutamate when we get into the biopterin pathway. But defects in the CBS pathway, you produce excess glutamate. And if you have defects in your GAD genes and you have defects in your GLS genes, then you will not get rid of it very well at all. So you're going to have excess glutamate. Excess glutamate symptoms are horrible. Person has a lot of anxiety, can't sleep, can't rest, a lot of OCD, can't let things go, perseverate on thoughts, musculature with glutamate, they're twitchy, tight, cramping sometimes, just You can have heart palpitations. You can have all sorts of things with glutamate. Glutamate is very similar to histamine, high histamine symptoms as well. And glutamate, we see that a lot, and that is a huge piece of people's problem, is that glutamate one, and I really hound on that a lot. Especially when we look at your GAD genes in the biopterin pathway in another presentation, we'll talk more about glutamate, but that's a big issue with people. And partly that has to do with food industry is putting glutamates in our foods for the purpose of causing us to be addicted to the food. Because glutamate is a stimulatory neurotransmitter, and it's stimulatory to your tongue receptors as well. So when you eat food with glutamate in it, your tongue goes, oh, that's good stuff. And it sings a pretty song and it says, give me more of that. And so the food industry purposely puts that in there. That's called a food flavor enhancer. You've heard of the most common glutamate, might be monosodium glutamate, MSG. But there's at least 20 different forms of glutamate. And thank the Food and Drug Administration, because now they have said that they don't even have to list it on the label. So I think somebody got a big fat check for that one, but that's just me. So glutamate is very damaging. Glutamate is the early cause of Alzheimer's. Glutamate, you continue to stimulate those glutamate receptors in the brain. It causes early dementia, causes just tons and tons of problems. It should be outlawed. Now, glutamate isn't necessarily bad. Again, hit this hard again. It's all about balance. You need even ammonia in your body. You need glutamate in your body. It's about balance. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter. It helps you wake up in the morning, helps you get going, helps you stay awake, helps you be attentive. That's what it does in your brain. Too much of it is what we just discussed. Here's some symptoms of hyperammonia. You can have growth retardation, hypothermia, you're cold all the time, poor circulation, aches and pains, and these are symptoms. You could literally take those symptoms and many people will go, well, that's me. That's my symptoms right there. Are all my problems from hyperammonia in my body? And the answer could be yes, but there's probably more than just this. It's always more, isn't it? But this is a piece, and it's a piece often that is not addressed. So we do want to address this by supporting the urea cycle, supporting ammonia reduction, and there's some nutrients that we may use that I may recommend with this. So that's why we may recommend it. If you have CBS and BHMT defects, now you'll understand why. Again, if you need deeper help, this is how you go deeper. We've talked about this at every slide presentation. So, and understanding the 23andMe agreements that you're going to get that nutritional supplementation recommendation, which you probably already have. So now you're starting to understand why we want to support these different things and when we want to add these. And understand you're getting my nutritional supplement recommendation, and I may go light on you right away, and down the road you might go, let's use ammonia as an example. I think I should get ammonia scavenger, and I want to try that. By all means, try it. So always start slow, though. Just start slow and go slow, and don't make too many changes at the same time, so you can discern for yourself what's the right change and what the change is doing for you. That's my suggestion. So hopefully this is a blessing, and you'll get more out of it as we go through. All right, bye-bye.